Hi Babs, how are you? My name is Moran and welcome to my series Getting Personal, where I gather crazy stories from Reddit, and today we're having one of the creepy episodes because we're gonna be talking about stalkers. So get comfy and without further ado, let's dive in. The first story is hairstylist has been taking/keeping my hair. I am weirded out. I'm also going to be vague because obvious reasons. I'm female in my 30s and my stylist is in 40s. I got my hair cut today at a stylist I've been using for about 9 months now. I think this is my 6th appointment with them. I usually do a trim or cut/style. Today I went from long hair, high lower back to an A-line bob. Again, since I started seeing this person, I usually get current style maintenance/trim. This time was a dramatic length adjustment, so they took a picture of the cut length on the floor to add to their social media, then intending to add before and after too. That's all totally fine and normal. They go grab a broom, sweep up the hair, and place the dustpan on the counter for a bit. Again, normal. They grab the broom and pan and head to the back of the shop. They're gone a few minutes. No biggie. Then they go out to smoke. But here is where it gets weird. The bathroom is in the back of the shop too. I need to go and step into the back. I don't really notice anything on the way into the bathroom. I go and start to head back out, but I notice my name on a small clear tote on the table. It has no lid, and it has my hair in it. At first, I didn't really think much of it, but I looked closer and see it's not just today's discarded hair, but looks like at least a few of my trim sessions, mixed with, it looked like potpourri and a little sand or something, and printed pictures of the cut hair with dates. The printer is sitting right next to it with today's discarded hair pick in the tray. There didn't seem to be any other containers like this when I looked around. It was weird, so I took a pic on my phone. I honestly didn't know what to think or do and went back out into the salon. They came back in and I mentioned that I went to the restroom and they seemed to freak out a little bit but didn't mention it. I didn't really know what to say, so I just let them finish styling my hair, paid, and left. As a socially anxious introvert, this was my nightmare. I got home and the more I looked at this picture, the more ick I got. I ended up texting them an hour ago, sending the picture and requesting they remove the weird box of me and asking for an explanation. I said, hey, so I saw this and didn't know what to make of it. Can you help me understand what this is and why you have it? I'm not comfortable with you having this and request you please discard the contents. Also, even though I loved my cut, I believe it's best if I find a different stylist. They haven't responded. Lol, what the what the indeed. It does give, if not obsessive, but like crazy and super weird vibes because I feel like no normal person would do that. We have an update, one of many. 1 week later. It's been about a week, and with the holiday I've been all over the place, but I ended up going to law enforcement to make a report last Monday. I'll likely end up going back if this person keeps contacting me like they have been. I'll give a little timeline. Last Saturday, haircut and discovered the weird tub full of my hair. Texted stylist about the weird tub and said I'd be finding a new stylist. Hairstylist didn't respond. This is where I left off in the last post. A lot has happened since then. Sunday, I woke up to a bunch of texts from the stylist. It woke me up because even though I have Do Not Disturb on my phone, I have a setting that overrides that if there are repeated contact attempts over 3 in case of emergencies. Here is what I got, copied and pasted. 3:49 a.m. I don't recommend going to a different stylist because of this. It's not a big deal. Small towns and people talk, and you may not find another one that will take you after this, so I'd reconsider. I don't like threats. 3:51 a.m. So I have your biological material, and it's mine property now. I can do what I want with it. I kept it because I can, and it means a lot to me. 3:54. Why you send the pic? I know what it looks like. It's mine. 4 sharp. you need to respond to me because I think it's a misunderstanding about what this is. It's no big deal, and you saying you're switching stylists has me triggered. I do good work. Clapping hands emoji. You said so. 404. I also charge a $350 client separation fee, so yeah, you can't just say you're switching stylists with more consequences, and I know you said you already tried a few people before me. They not many beauty people in the area. 411. Asking for an explanation for a stylist having hair in the salon is crazy. Where else would you find hair at? I didn't do nothing wrong, but I will get rid of it if you're gonna cry about it, but only if you say you won't be switching to no one else for your hair care. You mean a lot as a client and always tip well, and I do good work, so it doesn't make sense, and you know that, so maybe don't threaten someone who does your hair or hurt their heart by making accusatory statements. I didn't respond to any of those that morning because it was so insane to me. I need to process things fully before I make a decision on how to deal with it, so I just didn't respond. Sunday afternoon, I start getting phone calls. This person called me 14 times that afternoon. About every other call, they left a voicemail. Most of the voicemails just said call me back or text me back, but two of them were unhinged. I'm going to paraphrase, but the gist of the first one was, sounds like they're crying, call me back, I'm getting scared you won't come back to me for your hair for real. I just like how your hair feels. That's why I kept it. Call me. The second unhinged message was left late Sunday night at 11:38 p.m. and it said, I got rid of it except for one lock. I found out I like watching your hair burn more than I liked keeping it. I didn't respond to any of those messages, calls, or texts. The whole thing had me freaked out now. I decided by that time I was taking Monday off work to go to the police. Even if they couldn't do anything, I wanted a filed report of the weirdness. I woke up Monday to an email from the stylist with an invoice of $375 for client breach of contract fee as the chargeable line item. Again, copy and pasting here. The email body was just for being a bitch. It was sent from their business email too, so they're really doing everything they can to ruin themselves. Even if I had a contract with this nutter, which I don't, the original amount was for $350. They can't even get their extortion fees right. I did email them back stating that we had no contract and to cease all further communication with me from this point forward. I got ready and started heading to the police station around 9:45 Monday morning. I live in a rural area, so there are points of my drive to and from our main town that doesn't have cell reception. When I finally got to town, I had 4 voicemails. I knew immediately who they were from. I talked to one of the officers on staff. They took my statement, a copy of the email, asked me to forward all the texts and screenshots of the numbers of calls. They said at the least the calls and texts could be considered menacing and harassment, but the voicemail where they mentioned how they like burning my hair was potentially concerning. The officer advised I contact a legal representative in case this person tries to take the bogus invoice to a civil suit court. And they said I'm welcome to change my number, but having the piling evidence if they continue to contact me after I explicitly told them not to in the email would only help me. I reached out to a lawyer Tuesday and left a detailed message regarding the situation. They are apparently out of the office until next Wednesday for the holiday, so we'll see if they have any advice. I've since received many texts and calls from the stylist. They sent a happy Thanksgiving text on Thursday morning as well. Regardless, they're giving me a lot of evidentiary material to work with, but I'm so unsettled. I can't wait to hear from the lawyer this week. Then there is a mini update in the comments. This is after a week from update 1. I woke up to new comments and requests for updates. Firstly, I'm okay and safe for now. The person has continued to contact me on regular basis via phone and email. I do have personal protection that I'm comfortable with and can wield handled with accuracy, but I'm nearly certain this person does not know where I live, so I don't anticipate any type of confrontation here. Our house and property has complete camera coverage as well. If anyone/anything shows up, we're well aware. I will be posting a more in-depth update with more text and emails up to this point and regarding a specific incident that happened on Friday. On Tuesday, I have an appointment to speak with another officer to discuss the potential of criminal action and legal consequences for the stylist as a result. Thank you all for your concern and the validation that this is absolutely insane. I'll leave you with a text from this past week. One I think y'all will enjoy. Question used for a model of how not to make friends. 5:12 a.m. Don't never say never. You're never coming back. Don't make me laugh. I don't want your ass back. You can beg me though. Might help. Okay, that person, they need help. I would be very scared if I was the OP because you never know what they might do. And as updates show, they might do some more crazy 4 days later, update 2. I didn't expect the crazy amount of people following this. Here is the long-awaited post. Also long post. Sorry for the delay, I think I mentioned before. I'm a processor, so it takes me a while to work through my thoughts and feelings on things. This situation and update may not be as satisfying as many would have hoped, but here it goes. I met with law enforcement again this past Tuesday. My husband and I drove over early that morning because I was also meeting up with the lawyer I'm working with. Aside from the near constant texts, calls, and emails, I wanted to pursue legal action for a specific issue. Allegedly, the stylist had tried to have my credit card cancelled. Apparently, they used the last 4 digits of my card, called the customer service line for the card, and tried to cancel it. I got a call from the fraud department shortly after. This person attempted to do this, trying to verify everything to see if I actually wanted to close my account and dissolve my credit line with them. To be clear, the stylist was not successful in their alleged attempt. They couldn't provide the basic information you need for such things, like my actual last name. It's unusual, and they gave a name that was almost similar. Date of birth, address, etc. Apparently, they thought they could accomplish this with just my name, phone number, and the last 4 digits of the card number. I didn't cancel the card, but did request a new one for obvious reasons. I had no clue why they would want to cancel my card. To inconvenience me? Yep, that's exactly why, allegedly. When I spoke with the company, they agreed to send over the recording of the person that called, as well as the phone number the call originated from, as long as the request came from law enforcement with a warrant. They gave me a phone number and reference number for the police to reach out to directly. The officer began working on that immediately, so that is in progress. I went to my phone company over the weekend. I had my phone number transferred to an old phone so I could still receive calls and texts there, but got a new phone number for my actual phone. The old phone and phone number has been turned over to the officer assigned to my case. They did go and speak with this person yesterday. Apparently they're horrified I went to the police and had no idea any of their crazy could be chargeable offenses. According to the officers, there have been no further communication via text or call since their visit, and I haven't received any other emails. A temporary protection and no contact order has been issued against them until the first court date. I have also reached out to the State Board of Licensing with all this information and my complaints. All I can say is they are investigating. Outside of that information, I'm limited on any other information I can share since a legal process against this person has officially begun. We're just waiting to see how this all plays out now. It's been a long few weeks. I'm hoping for the best here. I'm already so relieved to no longer be getting calls, texts, or emails constantly. Thank you all for the concern, advice, and good wishes. This was meant to be an outlet for me to vent and process, and I'm so grateful that you have allowed me to do that with the huge amount of support you have given. There is also from the comments, the OP goes, the officer implied that this person was legitimately Pikachu-faced when they showed up, and the lack of further contact indicates they really didn't have a clue clue they were breaking the law. That is, out of all of this situation, one of the most hilarious elements. It's like, yeah, I'm going to absolutely turn your life into a nightmare of texts and calls and threats and extortion. And what do you mean it's a chargeable offense? Like, some people are just pricelessly stupid. And the new update, actually 13 months after the previous update, and it goes. I've been reluctant to revisit any of this for a few reasons. All selfish. In general, none of what happened over the last year or so was fun. There was a legal process in which I was granted a 1-year restraining order against the stylist. This process took a while to get to court and be heard, with continuations for various reasons, but here is the gist of what happened. The stylist showed up to all of the court proceedings, had a variety of allegedly fabricated evidence to show the court that I was the one harassing them. They had supposed screenshots of texts from my number threatening to harm them, calling them names, threatening to show up at their business and burn it down. The issue with this evidence, the phone number the texts were coming from was on a phone that was in possession of the officer on my case. I had already gotten a new phone number by the time these texts were being sent. The officer had a certified readout of the phone's activity while in his possession, and no calls or texts were outgoing after I surrendered that phone. There were none. The stylist seemed very surprised by that information. I don't think they ever considered that I might get a new phone or number. The stylist implied that I had someone else do it, or that I spoofed it from my new number and tried to demand my new number as part of the discovery of evidence. That was not granted. I did have law enforcement do another certified review of my current phone, and to protect us further, my husband's phone as well, showing that I or anyone I was in contact with had not downloaded any spoofing software to use against this person or attempted to contact them. That felt icky, but was necessary and also very validating. They did have a lawyer, but the lawyer seemed very cowed. I really believe the representation was not confident in their case, especially with the texts and calls this person was said to have received. The tone, grammar, and language used in those communications were not native to the way I speak or text. I hate text speak and rarely use it, especially with anyone I'm not intimately familiar with. The evidence they presented with the text was riddled with it. I do use slang bestie, but if I don't know you well, you're getting my customer service communications. All that to say, whomever was sending those texts was not me. I don't care to speculate about who did send them, but they read like bad cop dramas. Ultimately, the bench trial was in my favor. The stylist was given no contact with a 1-year restraining order, ordered to pay all my legal fees and a small monetary amount. To date, that has not been settled. On to the aftermath. A few weeks go by and things took a turn. Random notes on my car would pop up when I go grocery shopping about what a I am and I'll get what's coming to me, vehicles slowing down in front of our house and throwing eggs, or honking their horn over and over in the middle of the night. I'm not stupid, I know who it is, and now they have my home address with all the restraining order filings. Thankfully, I also have cameras everywhere on my property. I would call the cops, they'd say they would look into it, it would continue. My tire got slashed when I was at dinner with my husband. The restaurant did not have any cameras at an angle that would show us who, but I have a good idea. Their salon location was only 2.5 blocks away. Small towns can be great until everyone and their mama knows where you are when you're in town. This goes on for months. We make a report for each and every instance and occurrence. Finally, the cops really started looking into it more. We gave them everything we had. The car on our footage was not registered to stylist. When the cops went knocking at the owner's house, they claimed they were paid to go piss off this by stylist, but thought it was a prank situation. They were cited for vandalism and disturbing the peace and were trespassed from our property. Their car was never near our property again after that. Stylist was brought in for violating a restraining order. I thought it would be over. It was essentially a slap on the wrist. Cycle continues. Stylist finally spends a few nights in jail after the 5th or 6th instance of violation. Then, stylist files a lawsuit for defamation defamation of character against me for, get this, 200K. According to stylist, my defamatory remarks cost them their clientele and license. I didn't know it, but their license has been suspended. I guess my report to the licensing bureau worked. Stylist claimed I cost their yearly salary of 200K. What small town stylist makes this? And demanded reparations for defamation, claiming that my restraining order was granted under false evidence and cost them their reputation and livelihood. I contact my lawyer again and we start our defense. Lawyer does all the lawyer things. I'm advised I can countersue at this point, but I just want everything to be over. The case doesn't see a judge for a while. We go, both sides are heard. Case is dropped without prejudice. At this point, we've had enough. Once the restraining order is up for renewal, we make a different choice. We moved. We sold our house, traded in our old cars, and dipped. I didn't want this person to ever have access to me or mine again. It has been about 5 months in our new home, and things have been exponentially more peaceful. But I'm so pissed off that it came to us moving. I loved our house, our community, and the area we lived in. I'm sorry I hadn't updated. I just really hate thinking about this one time I had a weird as encounter with my hairstylist that led to nearly a year of hell. So that's it. That's the update. It's a new year separate from the crazy, so here it is. And honestly, that's all I'm giving after everything. I just want to forget it. Woof, that was a horrifying ride, and I am also heartbroken for you that you had to abandon your entire life, sell your house, leave the community because of this crazy ass person who can't stop. Like, that's what scares me most about stalkers, is that they can't stop, and you know it's never going to stop unless you literally like disappear or move. And then, like, can you imagine, like, this is straight out of a horror movie or a thriller, if they find you somehow again. I'm like, wouldn't wish it on my worst enemy, even though my worst enemy is actually kind of halfway my stalker right now. So hi, if you're watching this, you're yikesy. Quick pop in from me from the future. Please don't forget to subscribe and like and maybe leave comments, because I really need support. I've been stuck on 2,300 subscribers for like over a year now, and at this point I'm losing not only the will to make videos but the will to live. So if you like my videos and my content, please just put in a little support, because I can't anymore. Okay, I can't. Thank you so much. And we're moving on to the next story, which is, am I overreacting? My coworker took video of me outside of work to prove I'm not disabled. This is weird, so I need to know if I'm crazy for going as far as I did. I have a condition of chronic pain. The way I explain it to people without chronic pain is that if pain were on levels from 1 to 10, normal people are at most at a 2 or 3 from day to day, where people with chronic pain are at more like a 6. Like, imagine stepping on a Lego or hitting your funny bone. That's a very brief but excruciating 8. It's like if you pulled a muscle, and so there's pain and discomfort if you move it, but pretty much daily. Some days I'm higher on the scale. Rare blessed days I'm more a 4, or by some miracle lower. Overall, I am active and operate well. I do own canes, but I only use them on days when I'm 7 or above. Such a day came this past Sunday. On top of my full-time job, I have a part-time. Due to being physically and legally disabled, I had all the paperwork already filed with my job in case I ever need accommodations. I have a handicap marker on my license plate and the placard on my rear view mirror and the works. I was recently moved to a location closer to my home. I love my new team. My boss Amy is really great. My colleague Casey and I get along okay, but we are at the same position as assistant coordinators to Amy. The reason I was moved to that location was that it expanded and they needed more hands, so they added me. Casey has wanted a promotion for a long time and everyone knows it. I was pretty open that I don't. Lol, any promotion for my position would be a full-time, and I already have a full full-time job. I do this job to pay my savings and because I frankly like the job. Being busy also helps with my anxiety. I mean, Casey works hard, but she also likes to talk over me or rush to take charge of something before I can when I clearly was getting to it. She then announces it. Oh, I handled that for you, OP. Don't worry. And at first, I was annoyed, but over time, I was like, alright then, but you didn't have to. I talked to Amy about this. I want to pull my weight, but it can be challenging and redundant when Casey is racing to beat me to it. The point was for us to split tasks evenly. Amy said she would talk to her, and I don't know what came of that, but things didn't really change much, so I just accepted it. So when I came in Monday with my cane, everyone had questions. I emailed Amy Sunday night, so she knew, but I tend to be private, so what I told everyone else was that I have a condition and sometimes I need a cane, but not always. Amy accommodated me. She assigned me tasks that required little to no movement. I was very grateful and got everything done pretty early, so I called over the radio if there was anything else I could do. Casey said no, she's got it, so I just handled admin stuff that's usually on the back burner. Literally replied with, okay, I'll tackle the admin list then. And Casey said no, she's got it, but Amy followed that with a thank you to me and confirmation that this would be helpful. I still needed my cane yesterday, Tuesday, and it was similar. I completed most of the admin to-dos and Amy was so relieved to have it done. She thanked me for coming in and doing all that instead of calling out. Casey made a comment that she could have helped, but I said that's okay and thanked her for handling the more physical tasks. We ended up walking to the parking lot together and she asked which car was mine, so I pointed at it. Then she said, so I know you're not disabled, by the way, and I asked her what she meant. She just repeated herself and said, so no cane tomorrow, okay? I won't tell, just no cane tomorrow. Side-eye emoji. I stood there like, what the but I was meeting my best friend and just left to make it on time. I met my BFF, Joy, at the bar and we had a wonderful time. I brought my cane, but to be honest, I didn't always use it. For example, I didn't use it to walk from my table to the bar to request another drink or when I got up to hug Joy goodbye. Today, when I woke up, my pain was higher than my normal, so I took my cane along. I texted Amy that I have my cane but doing okay in small bursts, so put me in coach. I was having a good time at my main job and didn't give Casey a thought. I arrived at my part-time job and Casey saw my cane and went red. I mean, like the way I looked when the Eagles lost to the 49ers. Lol, just super mad. I greeted everyone and she ignored me completely. We got our assignments and she snidely said to me, well, can you handle that with your cane and all? In a tone that even made Amy turn to look at her like, what the I said I can manage and thanked her for her concern and we went about our work. Once again, she raced to beat me to things and saying over the radio, don't strain yourself, OP. I did X task or got Y done. I was so confused until about an hour ago when we finished work, she again walked with me to the parking lot, but this time showed me a video. It was me at the bar last night with Joy. I was just like, why do you have a video of me? That's weird. She says it's proof. I asked if what, and she said it's proof I'm not disabled as I acted so wounded all day at work, but suddenly don't need my cane at a bar. What? I wanted to explain that that's just how chronic pain works. Like, yes, I can stand up to hug my friend or get up and walk 3 strides to order a new drink, but I can't, for example, lean over and organize a bottom drawer without a chair to sit in. I wanted to explain the chronic pain is just an umbrella and under it are a myriad of experiences and abilities, and that honestly, if she had left my tasks alone, I'd have done them. She didn't give me the chance and said, no cane tomorrow, I'm serious, or I'm going to Chad. Chad is Amy's boss. I said, about what? But she was already walking away from me and just got in her car. It's just weird, and oddly, Chad would know this is bull because his boyfriend has chronic pain too. I'm not so much worried about being found out or anything, but it's just weird and I'm literally typing an email to Amy CCing Chad about this weird behavior because it's just odd. Am I crazy to want to preemptively explain this? I am anxious and paranoid in general, so I don't want to overreact or make things worse. That person is like unhinged. This is such a weird level of like toxic competitiveness and hyperfixation conversation? Why are you following your colleague to prove something? Why are you so hurt about her disability that you need to like stalk your colleague and then threaten her? Even if she was faking it, you are the one always taking over the tasks and trying to one up her. You are the one being weird. She's just walking around with a cane. How is that affecting you in any way? The OP absolutely isn't crazy for letting the bosses know in advance, because it's better to get ahead on this thing. And you know, she has a very good reason. Like, my coworkers stalking me and threatening me. Like, what in the actual so let's see edits and updates. Edit 1, I send the email, and also thanks for letting me know that I'm not crazy for feeling weirded out. Edit 2, Jesus Chrysler driving. Christ, that's a lot of notifications. I'll edit to try to reply all here because there isn't enough coffee in the world. It's morning and I'm still about at a 7 and it's cold today, so even if I didn't want to bring my cane, I would have to. I texted ahead so Amy can start thinking about tasks today. For some common themes I've noticed, yeah, my pain scale Lego idea wasn't on scale. Stepping on a Lego was the funniest thing I could think of that hurts, so I wanted to paint a picture. I wasn't making a clinical pain chart. Feel free to use your own theater of the mind scenarios to help people without chronic pain have an idea of what it's like. Amy and Chad have both responded, so we will see how today goes. Anyway, this was my first break in my full-time job, so I have to get back to it. For more context from the comments, I'm 34 and she's 29. The job is real specific, but it has to do with a public school system. We have a lot to do with kids who struggle with specific subjects and help them in a way a tutor would, but more fun, if that makes sense. Okay, and then there's an update the next day. Today was weirdly quiet, which almost made it worse. Not sure what everyone knows, but they at least know something's up. I wasn't even in the same area as Casey during check-in, and I have no clue when she actually arrived. I usually see her as our shifts are the same hours. Turns out she's been assigned to the back office doing other tasks, hours reduced, while I was put at the admin booth at the entrance handling paperwork and spreadsheets. They definitely took advantage of that because I'm good at it, so we didn't cross paths at all at first. I actually turned on a voice recorder app as soon as I got to work, just in case. I also added a shortcut on my phone so I can start recording quickly if I need to, just in case. I didn't want to be caught off guard like before. I did feel a little silly doing it, but I'd rather feel silly than unprepared, you know? I didn't see Casey until near the end of the shift, and even then it was barely a glimpse. She looked up, saw me, and immediately turned away. Like full-on avoidance. It made my stomach drop. I just turned away and minded my business. Amy was very reassuring, but also vague at first. I didn't like that, and I think my face said so, and she said she doesn't like all the red tape and such either, but to be patient because they need to go through all the right channels and steps. Amy let me go home early, but she told me to log my full hours anyway and made it clear she and Chad are actively talking about this and taking it seriously, and I'm almost certain she and he had been texting the whole shift. She also walked me to my car and said that we'll continue for now until everything is resolved. About an hour after my shift ended, I got an email from her, Chad CC'd, saying that tomorrow, Friday, Casey will be assigned to admin duty in the back office unless something changes before the shift, and that we should not be interacting at all. It's a long weekend, so I figure all the behind-the-scenes stuff will be happening then. I also found out that Casey already presented her evidence. That includes the video she showed me before and another video from yesterday, Wednesday. Apparently she filmed me at a local winery during Wine Wednesday. There is a clip of me getting up to grab a bottle a few steps away, and later another clip of me standing up and doing a small little celebratory dance after a tabletop game win. That's the part that really messed with my head, because hold on, when did she start recording me? For how long? I mean, I could maybe believe coincidence once, like, okay, lightning struck and it's weird. Same town, same general area, blah blah blah. but twice, 2 different days, 2 different places. That's when it stopped feeling like my paranoia getting the best of me and started feeling unsettling. I'm honestly starting to wonder if this is something that might need police involvement, as some comments suggested, and I hate that my brain even went there, but I mean, what other options are there right now? I'm typing this from a bar, but not the same one as before, thank God. It's still local to the school, teachers come here a lot, and it's Thirsty Thursday, so there's a bigger happy hour discount if you show your school ID. Joy is with me, and a couple other friends are on their way. Joy had been here during my shift in case I needed any backup fast. That said, my head is absolutely on a swivel. So is Joy's. I don't feel relaxed the way I normally would. I keep scanning the room without meaning to, and when people get too close to me or stand in my way facing me, I look up to see if it's her. It's weird. I'm still trying to process all of this, and honestly, I'm confused more than anything. I keep going back and forth between maybe this is nothing and this doesn't feel normal. Right now, I'm just documenting everything and doing what HR tells me to do, but I don't like how small and watched the situation is starting to feel, and I hate that I'm recording every moment I can in case she pops up. If nothing else, I'm safe tonight and will be staying at Joy's. I'm not alone, and work has made sure we're separated for now. I guess we'll see what tomorrow brings. So unless something crazy happens, I won't be updating until this is resolved. Wish me luck. This whole situation is so fucking weird. I just genuinely don't know what else to say, except for also maybe my fucking neighbors will always start drilling when I need to film because of course. And I am actually impressed and glad that your bosses are taking it this seriously, but also I'm kind of sad for the world that, you know, people doing the thing they're supposed to do impresses us now. It's like when police takes a woman's complaint about violence or assault or stalking seriously, you're like, wow, oh my god, they're so great, but like, yeah, that's their job, and it's sad for the world in general. But enough ranting. Moving on to the latest update, which came 8 days later from the previous update. Happy Friday, guys. Thanks so much for all the sweet messages checking on me. All things considered, I'm okay. My pain spiked pretty badly this past Tuesday, so I took it easy and took off from my full-time job to pamper myself. That gave me time to think and spend time gaming and gardening. That was a welcome break to brace myself for my part-time job. So yes, I have been taking care of myself, and I loved all the Reddit moms and dads checking in. This will be long as I'm trying not to forget anything so I can close this out, or at least put a pin in it, as I know for me as a Reddit scroller, unfinished stories are almost as frustrating as the ones that go on forever. I'm hoping this is my final update on the matter. Legal is now involved. I genuinely didn't even know our organization had a legal department, but apparently it does, and they're looped in alongside HR. An HR rep has been communicating with me, but honestly things have been very quiet on that front, which I'm taking as no news is good news. I'm still at my school and I still love it. I love the students and faculty and even the parents. Anyone in education knows parents can be great or they can be so not great, and rarely is there in between. Casey has been transferred to an admin position at an office in the company I don't even go to. I haven't seen her since my last post, and I'm glad of it. Work has been peaceful without her. I have more work to do now as the only assistant coordinator, but I'm starting to get my rhythm, and the staff there has been very supportive, plus I have more chances to get to know the people I work with. What I didn't expect was finding out from multiple coworkers in several conversations was that almost from the moment I joined that campus, Casey had been trying to spread rumors about me, including suggesting that I'm a danger to kids or that I have an explosive temper, which is honestly wild to hear about myself. I'm almost always described by others as soft-spoken to a fault and usually get told I need to be more strict with students. If anything, I balance Amy out as the good cop to her bad cop, plus the angry black woman tropes are so freaking tired, so it was extra annoying to find out that she was trying to paint me as such. She also said to people that the reason she took over my tasks was because I did them wrong or made her job harder and she had to redo things. minutes. She basically had a narrative that I was Mr. Magoo causing chaos and she was the saintly, hardworking teammate trying to clean up my messes so I don't get in trouble. HR is still investigating and I've been told to continue documenting anything that comes up. I'm ready to do so, but so far it's been quiet. One unexpected upside is I'm now the sole person at my campus with my title, which came with a pay raise. Not how I would have chosen to get it, but I'll take the win. I did file a police report. I think I mentioned this in my last post, but if not, I was told very clearly that filming in public places isn't illegal and that there is no reasonable expectation of privacy in those spaces, so there was no criminal action taken. Cue my eye roll, but at least it's officially reported. The report is strictly documentation. The local places I frequent have been made aware of the situation and that a report exists. My friends were incredible. They helped me get my car cleaned and detailed just to be absolutely sure there wasn't anything like a tracker or AirTag like some comments suggested we do. I also finally got around to asking my neighbor to help me install my other security cams. I used to have only one and my doorbell cam, and now I can pull up live footage on the whole system all around my house. And to those suggesting a dash cam, I already have one, turns out. I never used that feature, so my friends helped. My car is fairly new and I'm still getting used to it. I did start to go over and back up all the footage going back since I started at my campus by motion activation points, and now have a hilarious compilation of the neighborhood cats being adorable or the crows I feed leaving random things. Yes, I did the crow mom thing. So another good thing came of this. I'm not changing my routines, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't still a little on edge, especially since multiple coworkers mentioned hearing Casey blow up at Amy on her last day on campus and Amy sent her home for the day. This was on my day off, as only Amy and Casey worked that day and the coworkers there volunteered to work the holiday for extra pay. What she said varies depending on who tells it, but the fact that it happened at all doesn't exactly make me feel warm and fuzzy, as I'm sure you'll understand. But I tell myself everything that can be done on my end has been done, so I try not to stress about it. That said, I also reached out to a few lawyers just to understand my options. I'm very aware that HR exists to protect the company, not me, so I want to cover my bases. I meet one over Zoom at my lunch break, so wish me luck. I still record when I walk to and from my car. My therapist reminded me to be careful to make sure my being proactive doesn't turn into living in fear and giving in to my anxiety or PTSD. I'm taking that seriously as my mental health has been a journey and I don't want to go back to the way I was before. I can't and won't let someone else shrink my life again. There are also clarifications from the OP as they respond to most recurring comments like, why are you going to bars this much, or how do you have time to work two jobs, which I don't think is necessarily relevant to the story, so I'm not gonna be reading it out. There is an edit slash update. The ice storm woke me up and I looked at my phone. Joy and my other friends have a group chat and I think they forgot which chat I'm on with them because they've been trading screenshots of Casey's social media. From what they gathered, Casey did put some of her socials on private in the past day or so, but that didn't stop my friends from screenshotting some disturbing posts. In short, Casey has bought into the stereotype that black women especially steal from the government by leaning on welfare, such an age-old and tired racist trope yet again, and other government programs, and this included faking disabilities to rip off public programs because we clearly don't want to work. I did just forward this all onto the HR rep I am in contact with. Turns out this probably wasn't about my cane after all. Just plain flavored canned racism without salt. Frankly, how boring is that in my country? This just made everything so much stupider. So you turn into a stalker and harass a disabled woman because you're like hell-bent on proving that she's like stealing from the government because of like your racism. Oh my god, there is more updates. And now I'm scared. Now I'm scared that this update is gonna be bad. Even though it sounds like they have a good support system and everybody's taking it seriously, but you know, with these Stalkers, you never can tell. So this update comes from 6 days later after the previous update. Hi, I'm in Texas and honestly just trying to understand what options I have at this point because this seems to just be escalating and I feel like I'm not getting the help I need. I posted previously in another sub, but things have escalated and people suggested I come here. As of this week, I was told she's been finally terminated. She has a relative, her stepfather, who works second tier only to our director, and he's also reached out to apologize, stating that she's struggling financially and is a hard worker and thus was very stressed about getting a better paying position. There were snow days during part of this Texas winter storms, so there was a gap where no one was on campus. I was told this delayed me from even logging on to my company email and seeing this info. What's happening now is that since she was fired, some really unsettling things have started around the same time. For example, on Tuesday the 27th, I found a handwritten note placed on my car while it was parked outside my home. It included a racial slur and calling me selfish. I quickly checked with neighbors on either side and I was the only one who got a note. I checked my dash cam and moved the camera on my home to cover the area going forward. The footage from my dash only shows someone bundled up approaching the car but no identifying details as their face was covered and they were wearing like ski looking goggles. Wednesday night, the 28th, I went to trivia night with a friend who drove us in her vehicle. She had snow tires on hers, and though the roads in our area were pretty clear, we wanted to be cautious. When we came back to her car, there was another note with similar language left on her car. We went back and asked for footage, but they said they didn't have cameras that worked out there. No damage to either car, and we did double check during daylight just in case. I've also started getting texts from unknown numbers beginning Monday that are hateful or at least pretty scary. I haven't replied to any of them. I've muted the numbers in case they text again and saved screenshots for the police. I reported both note incidents and the messages. I was told that filming in public isn't illegal, leaving a note without damaging property isn't a crime, and the messages aren't actionable unless they escalate. They did take reports and told me to keep documenting, which I fully intend to do. Casey no longer works for the company. HR/legal are aware of the original situation. I'm documenting everything, dates, screenshots, photos. I have cameras and a dash cam. I'm not fully changing my routines, but I'm being cautious. I think that's pretty much everything, but ask me questions if needed and I will answer. So my questions are, at what point does this become harassment or stalking under Texas law? Is there anything proactive I should be doing now besides documenting? Would a cease and desist make sense or could that backfire? Is there any civil option here, or is this realistically just wait and see unless it escalates? I'm not trying to overreact, but the pattern is starting to freak me out and I want to make sure I'm handling this the right way and get the help I need to make it stop. I'm almost certain it's Casey, but without proof, I'm not able to get any traction with the cops. Thanks in advance. Oh my god, this just gets worse. As with a lot of stalker cases, it just gets worse, and instead of thinking about what they did wrong and where they f***ed up, they will place all the blame on you, spew hate at you, because they will blame anyone and like fairies and vampires before they think that they might have to do something with it. No accountability, no reflection, nothing. Just like pure echo in that head. Okay, again, a lot of discussions, a lot of, trying to figure out what to do in the comments, but this story is super long, so we're gonna be moving to the next update because we have another update. So this one is actually the last one we currently have, and it's 2 weeks from the previous update. I'm so sorry, I honestly thought my last update was the end, but things just keep happening, and at this point Reddit is my little safe space. I'm at my friend's home drinking her wine and lounging in her guest room, safe and not alone. I am safe. Thank you everyone who have been asking / checking in on me. I'm okay, promise, just stressed. My life has pretty much become a cartoon, I swear, and I've become that weirdo who now makes jokes that ride the line of funny and not appropriate, but my jokes are about me, so I'm giving myself space. The morning I found the AirTag in the inside pocket of my cardigan, I went straight to the police. They took it as evidence immediately, and for the first time it felt like I was being taken seriously. I don't know the technical details of what happens next, but I was told it was active and they would pursue the account information attached to it. So, yay, they're taking this more seriously meets Christ Almighty, this is so serious, and cue my brain just failing to cope. I had what I was told later to be a panic attack. It was unlike any I've had before. For one, I gained a stutter, and I fully believed it was a heart attack and not a panic attack because my heart felt like it was about to come out of my damn chest. I sat down and my lungs were on fire. It was hell. A few restless days later, I was informed that Casey had been confronted by police. I don't know what was said during that interaction, and I haven't been given many details, but my lawyer said that same evening she was arrested for public intoxication and resisting arrest. Those charges are public record. I'm not celebrating this in a petty sense, but practical. It just confirmed for me that the instability I was feeling around the situation wasn't imagined, and that unfortunately right now, her being held by police meant I was safe. It was the first night since this all happened that I was able to sleep. Since that arrest, no notes anywhere I found and no texts. Only her relative who works upper management above me who emailed me and said he was sorry this was happening, but it was worded in a way that didn't really say sorry for what she did to me. It was frustrating and political, and I just would have preferred he say nothing at all. I didn't respond. I just forwarded to my lawyer. There hasn't been any further direct contact. However, something else came to light that forced me to take additional precautions because, of course, it is never that simple. Earlier on, when I first started there, I had briefly misplaced my keys at work. I was told a student found them and brought them to the office and told they were kind. I have a Totoro charm and a Sailor Venus charm on mine. I was told just recently that a male office staff member handed them to Casey because she claimed she was picking them up for me. I was never informed of that at the time as Amy ultimately handed me my keys. There is no proof she copied them, but there is no proof she didn't, and I now live in a better safe than sorry camp. Given everything that has happened, I can't ignore the possibility. I'm now changing all of my locks. It's expensive and frustrating, but I don't want to live with uncertainty about who has access to my home, especially people who are unhinged enough to stalk me. I've been sent enough horror stories. They live rent-free in my brain now. So no, I have no intention of being an episode on a show on investigation discovery. My employer has placed me on paid leave until after spring break while everything is sorted out per HR literally this past Monday. I didn't request it, but I understand the reasoning and I'm glad of it. They framed it as a safety and liability measure while legal procedures continue. Like, say less. Plus, it's no questions asked, full scheduled hours pay, and my main job is work from home, so I've barely left my friend's place. She mainly works from home too, and we've just been watching My Hero Academia and Kami Can't Communicate until we run out of episodes and drinking wine at the end of our work hours. She also showed me how to play Dragon Age and Elder Scrolls. In return, since she won't accept money for rent, I've been cooking more. I'm actually a bit good, and she's a huge foodie, so we've gotten down cookbooks from her shelves and have been picking our favorites. Last night I made calzones. Tonight I'm here on Reddit while waiting for my timer after the chicken marinates to make fried chicken and mashed potatoes with homemade gravy. I'm less scared than I was 2 weeks ago and focusing on things like this and my plans for later. Meanwhile, I actually have gotten texts of photos of the students holding banners and cards hoping I come back soon, and it does feel nice. Finding the AirTag was the turning point for me and really sent me into a tizzy. But on the bright side, it made the situation concrete instead of speculative, and police took me seriously. I'm still documenting everything and working with my lawyer. I'm taking this one step at a time. So while I think for the sake of this saga on this forum is concluded, I will just update on my own account if I do at all. For now, I'm resting. I'm trying to let my nervous system calm down after weeks of being on edge, and my therapist said that the cooking, the anime marathons, the binging is it cake at night is all good. I guess I need to level out still before being back to my normal, or maybe a new equivalent of normal. I don't know. I truly hope this is the final update overall, but thank you for the support. It meant and means a lot. It helps when others tell you that you're not crazy. Hope your Valentine's days are full of love. Oh my god, girl, you went through so much. I feel horrible for you, and Casey is just unhinged, of course. I mean, air tag. What in the actual I think it might have been like in the comments between updates, but like my life, how did it get there? It makes me so mad because victims of this kind of crime, they are so helpless sometimes, because literally you go to the police and the police is like, well, until you get fucking assaulted or killed, we're not gonna do anything, right? Because nothing actually happened. It's not like you're being tortured mentally to the brink of breaking and to the brink of like having panic attacks. No, just wait for them to, I don't know, stab you and then come see us again. That's just wonderful. That's wonderful how like laws work, which they don't mostly. Anyway, I hope she's okay now. This was a very long story, but we still have a bunch of others, so let's move on to them. I think someone is playing with me. This is going to sound a little crazy, but I need some advice anyway. Just want to start by saying that I've never had any problems with paranoia, delusions, or psychosis, and I don't believe in ghosts or anything like that. I'm also 35 years old now, so it's unlikely that those type of mental issues would arise at such a late age. That being said, I feel like I'm going crazy. I'm pretty sure someone moves small things in my apartment when I'm not home. I live alone and no one, as far as I know, has a key to my apartment. I have 2 keys and both are in my possession. I have checked several times. I have tried putting glasses and plates on the table as a test before I go to work and have taken pictures of them to compare with the pictures when I get home. So far, I have not been successful in proving anything. The most obvious things that I have noticed that have been moved are a plate I had breakfast on that day moved maybe 30 centimeters from where I put it. Candles have moved from the center of the coffee table to the edge of the table, and the shampoo bottle has moved from one shelf to another that I never used to store shampoo on. There are several other things I have noticed, but they are very small things that maybe not could be me now that I'm so aware of where everything is. My ex-boyfriend had the key to my apartment for many years before we broke up 2 years ago. We didn't fall out, and he has a new girlfriend now, so I'm 99% sure it's not him. He also works in Copenhagen now several days a week while I live in Jutland. I have asked him on days when things have moved where he was, and he has been in Copenhagen all those days. He shared his location on Messenger, so that was enough. What would you do? I have no evidence of anything, and in principle I could have been sleepwalking or something and just not noticed the changes until I got back home from work. I occasionally sleepwalked as a child, but as far as I know, it hasn't happened in maybe 25 years. It's starting to get pretty creepy. Now, in the comments that are reposted, the top comment is instantly jumping to carbon monoxide poisoning that can cause these symptoms like delusions, paranoia, and the OP goes that they will buy the detector. And we have an update. I figured out what's up with the situation. I bought 2 cameras and set one up in the living room / kitchen and one in the entrance hall. It turns out my apartment actually has 3 keys and not 2 as I thought. My neighbor, also 35 years old, apparently looked after the previous tenant's cat occasionally and had a key to their apartment. She didn't return it after they moved out of what is now my apartment. We were pretty good friends to start with when I moved in, but she became more and more clingy to the extent that she would call up to 15 times a day and talk for over 4 hours in total per day. I couldn't even leave the apartment without her wanting to know where I was going, and she would get angry if I didn't respond immediately to her messages if I was asleep or busy. There was so much drama surrounding her that I couldn't take it anymore and chose to completely cut off contact. She has respected that for the most part, I thought. It turns out that she has let herself into my apartment and gone through my cupboards and drawers and apparently deliberately moved my things around to make me paranoid. paranoid. She can hear when I go in and out of my apartment because her entrance is only 5 meters from mine. That's why she always knew when I wasn't home, even though I work shifting hours. I confronted her and said that I would call the police. She panicked and contacted her father, who came over to me. He is a doctor and said that she has borderline personality disorder and refuses treatment because she doesn't think she's wrong. He said she's impulsive, outwardly reacting, and often feels a strong urge to revenge herself on people who she feels have treated her unfairly or let her down. This has apparently been a theme throughout her life with almost all of her relationships, romantic and friendships. He practically begged me not to call the police and said that he would do everything he can to prevent anything similar from happening again. I got him to pay for a locksmith to change the lock, and I said that I would report her to the housing association, who would then report her to the police if she didn't voluntarily move out of the apartment as soon as possible, because I don't want her as a neighbor anymore. They both accepted that, and she has now chosen to move back to her parents at the end of February. So the ending was relatively good for me, albeit very chaotic. My goodness, this is once again something out of a thriller because, you know, it's very easy to convince yourself you're being paranoid and then someone actually is freaking messing with you. This is so creepy, and I'm super mad about the girl because the parents are not doing her any favors by basically enabling this. Like, she's refusing treatment, but she's clearly severely mentally ill, and in these cases they should be doing something about it. She clearly is struggling, and since it's been a pattern throughout her entire life, how can her father with a serious face stand there and be like, oh, we're gonna do everything in our power not to let it happen again? Oh yeah, you seem to be doing fucking great, because it's clearly not the first episode like that. So when are you gonna do something substantial about it? Like, get your daughter treatment that she needs. And anyway, the top comment here is, holy shit, the fact that there actually was someone rifling through OP's apartment for real is just so creepy. Yeah, the creepy part as well is that since stalkers usually escalate, and since this is a person with legit, honest to God, borderline personality disorder who is unmedicated, it could have gotten so much worse. It could have like escalated to really bad things. Not to say, very specifically and very importantly, I'm not trying to say in any way, shape, or form that mentally ill people are dangerous, because they are famously more vulnerable and more in danger than they are dangerous to others. Like, it's a very harmful stereotype. I myself am mentally ill, and I just want to make it very clear that when I'm saying that this person could have escalated and stuff, it's because she's unmedicated and clearly has a problem with the OP. Anyway, I've been ranting for too long. Let's move to the next story, which is another roller coaster called Am I the Asshole for Asking My Neighbor to Wait for Her Laundry at her house. Yesterday, after I picked up my son from school, my neighbor flagged me down in the driveway to ask me if she could use my laundry machine because hers was broken. I said sure, because she's my neighbor. While she was in her house gathering her laundry, I made grilled cheeses for myself and my son. When she came over, I showed her where the machine was. After loading the machine, she came into the kitchen. My neighbor asked if she could have a grilled cheese. I might just be a dick, but I thought that was a ridiculous thing to ask. I told her I only made 2. She asked why I did that since I knew she was coming over. Because she was coming over for laundry, not grilled cheese. My son offered her half of his. I always put an egg in my grilled cheese sandwiches. She bit into it and was grossed out by the egg, which she should have seen before she bit into it. She then asked where my trash can was. My son said don't waste food, so she just handed the sandwich back to him. I told him to switch halves with me and then bin the sandwich half when he wasn't looking. She asked to use my bathroom, which I of course agreed to. She came back to the kitchen after and asked if I had any refreshments. I said no and suggested that she wait for her clothes to finish at home. She asked if I was trying to get rid of her. I said we needed to get started on homework. She said she didn't mind. I said we needed to keep distraction to a minimum. She said, well, I know when I'm not wanted. and left. When she came back to switch her clothes to the dryer, she was very irritated. I apologized for hurting her feelings. She said it didn't matter, but she sounded angry. Then she left. I feel bad, but I also feel annoyed because who acts like that? Nobody acts like that. Crazy people act like that. Or better yet, crazy Karens act like that. She gives me a very much Karen-y vibe, and my goodness, this woman. And I promise y'all, whatever you think is happening here is not it, okay? Because I read the updates to this specific story, and like, it's not it. It just proceeds to escalate in the most like unhinged direction you can think of, okay? Or maybe it's just me. Maybe I don't have any imagination, so to me, where it goes, it's gonna be crazy. From the comments, OP goes, I think she's in her 30s, maybe a hot early 40s, and also she's married and has kids. Then I actually just moved here last month. I think I've spoken to her maybe twice. This was her first time coming into my house. I also think it was strange, to be honest. He's a guy, and before we move to the update, number 1, that came next day, I just want to say, generally, this is such a weird and nosy and entitled behavior. Like, she just took a sandwich from your child. Like, that is already strange. No, I mean, her trying to demand food from you when she just came to use your washing machine and, you know, already inconvenience you by doing that. Demanding food and staying over is already weird, but then she took food from your child and then she complained about it and then she wanted to throw it away. Like, what the fuck is wrong with this woman? She definitely was snooping in your bathroom. I'm sorry, she definitely was. And then, like, she came back in and she's like, yeah, give me something to drink. Final just nail in the coffin for me was when he was like, we need to do the homework, and she was like, yeah, I don't mind. Excuse me, lady, you don't mind? It's his house you're imposing and being absolutely insane. What is this? So let's find out what this is. I have a tiny update about my weird neighbor with a broken washing machine. She came back. I know 90% of you said to never let her back in the house, so you're probably going to judge me heavily. In my defense, I was a little flustered by the whole thing. She waved me down again when we were walking up to the house. She said to wait because she had something for me. I waited because, I guess because I'm stupid. I figured she would just knock on the door anyway if I didn't. She came back with a pie that she said was thanks for using my washing machine. I said thank you and she didn't have to. She said, let's go inside and try a piece. I said it was almost my son's nap time. She said, great, we can eat pie while he naps. A lot of you said she might have been interested in me, and that was still in my head. So I said, yeah, and you should invite your husband over too. I was expecting that to deter her. Nope. She got very excited. She said, that's a great idea. Here, you take the pie in and I'll go get him. So at that point, I'm internally thinking, what the my son and I went inside. I started cutting pieces of pie because at this point I felt like a victim of fate. She came over with her husband. I have never seen a man that looked as exasperated and embarrassed as this guy. We ate pie and the whole time she asked me weird questions while her husband looked annoyed. Every once in a while I would say something and she would give her husband a look. He kept pretending not to see the looks. After we finished the pie, she asked if I had coffee. Her husband said, honey, he wants to put his son down for a nap. Let's go home. She said, oh, he doesn't mind. Her husband said he minds while he took her elbow and started leading her out the door. She kept insisting that I didn't until they were outside. I gotta say, I think I'm in love with this guy. As weird and annoying as the whole thing was, I feel a lot better about my neighbor now. Some of the comments had some pretty crazy speculation that made me a little nervous. Now that I've met her husband, I'm pretty sure she's just bored, which is fine. It's annoying, but not creepy. So to all the people who were worried she was trying to seduce me or spy on me or steal from me, don't worry. Based on her husband's reactions, she's just like this. I would still be worried. That woman, it seems like, you know, she's a lot of marbles short of a functioning mind. So steer clear, and as we will see, he should not not have relaxed this early. I would even be more worried because she got so excited about the husband, so it's not the obvious explanation. And then I would be like, okay, so what is the explanation? And it would be driving me crazy as to why this is happening. Okay, important from the comments is that he goes, I'm divorced, I have a kid. She seemed really zeroed in on that topic. I think divorce is actually pretty common, but maybe not in her social circle. My son and I are in a minority group, not a super interesting one or anything though. And then people are asking what weird things she asked you and why were the looks about, and the OP goes, mostly stuff about my divorce. I'm not salty about my divorce, so it didn't hurt my feelings, but she didn't know that, so I thought it was rude/weird. She wanted to know how long ago I got divorced, where we used to live, why I moved, why I have primary custody, what school my kid used to go to, what my ex-wife does for work, how she feels about not being the primary parent, nosy stuff. She also asked why we got divorced, which I didn't have to answer because her husband actually cut her off on that one. He said that's a private matter and she dropped it. Yeah, that woman is fucking weird, dude. I mean, what in the There were too many questions in what he lists. Like, I would have probably shut it down because it's just suspicious at this point. Like, bruv, why are you trying to find out all of my dirty secrets? What if I asked you your dirty secrets? Like, I wonder if she would react well if he just like clapped back with, oh, hey, so did your husband ever cheat on you? And like, I don't know, what you guys up to in bed not to have a dead bedroom? Or do you like have a dead bedroom? And does that bother you, by the way? Is it because you are boring? Or is it because he's finding his pleasure elsewhere? You know, and just keep going, because like, this is so weird, you know, this is so weird. And she would definitely not react well to invasive questions. Well, she feels completely happy to be asking those questions. Anyway, the update we have is 11 days later, which is called my neighbor found my ex-wife on Facebook and messaged her. I have a weird neighbor with boundary issues. She invited herself into my house twice, and after that I tried to be more assertive and telling her she can't come over. I thought I was doing well, but I had only seen a small slice of what she was capable of. My ex-wife called me an hour ago to rip me a new exit orifice. My neighbor found her on Facebook and messaged her to ask if she was my ex-wife. She said she was. My neighbor asked her if she knew where I was currently living. She said she did. My neighbor then asked her why our son didn't live with her, his mother. My ex blocked her and then called me to yell at me. I'm furious. I want to yell at my neighbor, but I don't want to be stupid. I apologized to my ex-wife, but she's still pissed. How can anyone be so entitled as to think they have the right to interfere in a complete stranger's life like this? She's just my neighbor. We aren't even friends. This is beyond the pale. What the shit is wrong with your neighbor woman? As a lot of people supposed in the comments after this, I think she's actually after his child somehow, because she either doesn't believe in divorce or doesn't believe in single fathers. But I think she just kind of, you know, has this like delulu theories about like him being not a good parent or something, and she's trying to like dig up dirt on him for some reason. So that's scary. From the comments, someone goes, do you think that she thinks that you have kidnapped your own child or something? She might have an issue/concern with you being a single dad. And he goes, I think so. Reading over the messages she sent my wife, that is the impression I get, that she thought my ex was unaware that my son and I live here. I know there were a couple of stories in the news not too long ago about a woman who was kidnapped by a parent and found 40 years later or something. Maybe she had that in the back of her mind and her imagination ran away with her. I really don't think that excuses her behavior, but I do hope that is what her problem is, because the alternatives are all so much creepier. I don't even want to think about the alternatives because there's just way too much. And there is a mini update in the comments. Next day, I talked to him, neighbor's husband. I waited for his car to pull into the driveway. Creepy, I know, but turnabout is fair play. And walked over to talk to him. I showed him the screenshots my ex sent me. He looked very annoyed. He said he would talk to her and he apologized. He said she means well, but also that she watches too much daytime crap. Hopefully, that's the end of it. That, my friends, Of course, was not the end of it. Another update. Next day, I talked to her husband and he said he would talk to her. I don't doubt that he did, but whatever he said didn't get through. My son and I were eating breakfast when I heard a knock at the door. I thought there was absolutely no way it could be her, but it was. I looked through the peephole and she was standing there with a baking tray. I just went back into the kitchen. I ignored her. My son wanted to know why I wasn't answering the door, and I said sometimes we're already doing something important and so don't have time for other people if it isn't an emergency. I said breakfast with him was important and it wasn't an emergency, so I wasn't going to answer. She kept knocking for what felt like an age. Her husband must have come out at one point because I heard him calling her name. She said, I know he's in there. His car is here. Just incorrigible, this woman. I ignored her. I think her husband actually came and pulled her off the porch. That's what it sounded like to me, but I didn't look. Bugs Bunny is less Looney Tunes than she is. Oh, hell yeah. She cannot take a hint. She cannot even take when it's told straight up to her. And like, poor husband that he has to put up with this shit. And it seems that like he's not a crazy one. He's like a fully sane person who is just trying to live his life. And then he has to basically like parent his wife who's running around thinking she's Miss Marple. I can't. Another update the next day. At this point, she makes me feel so paranoid. I feel like she was watching us when we left the house this morning. We got dropped off by some friends about an hour ago, and coincidentally, someone was knocking on my door 10 minutes later. My doorbell camera arrived, and I'm going to install it in the morning. I didn't look to see if it was her knocking, but I'm sure it was. It had to be. And then the next update. So it's already 16 days from the original post. I don't actually know if all of her baked offerings are terrible because I only tried the first one, but I'm just going to assume my crazy neighbor is obsessed with me and my kid. She pretended her washing machine was broken so she could come over and snoop. Then she wormed her way in a second time with a terrible pie. I did my best to avoid her after that, so she found my ex-wife on Facebook and confronted her there. I want to be clear that I have never been friends with this woman. We are only neighbors. Her behavior is beyond strange and unsettling. She tried to come over again with a tray of something baked, and I ignored her. Last night, I'm pretty sure she knocked on my door. I did not check to make sure it was her, but I'm fairly sure. She had me so paranoid that every time I heard a rustling sound outside, in the back of my mind, I wondered if it was her. My dum-dum cat always gets behind the couch and then gets stuck there and starts meowing for me to get him out. You are a little dumbass, you know that? You are a dumbass. Oh, his little heart is hammering because he got stuck hanging in between and he got scared. You got scared. But yeah, what a little idiot. Sorry for the interruption. Of course it wasn't, because no woman is going to creep around in the bushes at night, but that is how much she's stressing me out. I installed the doorbell camera this morning before I took my son to daycare and went to work. It went off while I was tidying up at work and getting ready to leave. I saw her standing there with another baking tray. I told her through the app that I was at work. She said she wanted to talk to me, and I said that I'm at work and that I don't want to talk to her. She asked if we could talk when I get back from work. I said no. She said she wanted to clear the air. I said that wasn't necessary. I said I'm not upset, a lie, but that I don't want to talk to her or be around her. She said she was worried about me. She said my son and I got home late last night. It wasn't that late, it was around 8, and that my son looked unwell when we arrived. He was sleeping. She said it didn't make sense that I was at work because it's Sunday. Yeah, I work on Sundays, and that if something is going on, she can help me. Her tone and verbiage were so condescending. I stopped being nice. I told her to please get off my property. I said I do not want her around me or my son. I said she was making me uncomfortable. She tried to argue with me, but I stopped responding while continuing to watch her on the app. She kept saying she just wanted to help. She even knocked on the door at one point. She left with her baking tray. I'm stressed out. Part of me doesn't even want to go home. She thinks she has the right to claim my space and my time. She treats my porch like public property and me like I owe her an explanation for anything in my life. It's infuriating. I might be making a mountain out of a molehill. I know she's just a bored busybody, but she needs to find someone else to take an interest in. I think that you should be worried about her because this is outside of a normal bored busybody type of behavior. Like normal busybodies, like, yeah, okay, they are very curious and they want to know all of your dirty laundry, but like they are sane enough, you know, not to do this shit and not to like straight out stalk you. Basically, also on the situation with the police, he doesn't want to get the police involved because he's a black man living in the US, which makes things very obvious. Yeah, like I fully understand why he doesn't want to get the police involved because chances are it's not going to go well for him and it might backfire. And, you know, on the other hand, it's also dangerous to let the situation just fester without police involvement because it seems like she's not going to stop and it usually just gets worse. Also, from the comments, I actually saw him today, like neighbor's husband. One of the moms from daycare and her son came home with me and my son for a play date. When we were heading inside, I saw a crazy neighbor come out. Her husband followed her out and pulled her back inside. It all happened so fast, I almost thought I imagined it. So he's definitely aware. 2 days later, she knocked on the door and rang the doorbell and said to the camera that she just wanted to clear the air. I ignored her and eventually she went home. She didn't bring a baking tray this time, like she knew I wasn't going to answer. I think she's running out of steam. OP adds, thank you, I think her crazy peaked with messaging my ex. Also, her husband definitely doesn't approve of what she's doing and that's probably dampening her enthusiasm. And then 4 days later, another comment, ignoring her has been working so far. She has tried a few times to knock on the door or ring the doorbell. I ignore her and she goes away. I'm confident she will eventually get bored. If your heart is feeling a bit of hope right now, I'm sorry, but I have to squish it because a new update that I don't know what's going on in there. So we're gonna find out together, but clearly she did not get bored. My life. 9 days from the last update, we have entitled neighbor threatened me with police. My entitled neighbor that you can read about in my post history is obsessed with me. It seems like things were calming down. I have a doorbell camera and she wasn't knocking on my door as much. She seemed to be running out of steam. Last night, my son and I went to a party at a friend's house. Several children were there and the host offered a sleepover for any kid who wanted to spend the night. Once all the kids were asleep, us adults enjoyed the adult beverages. I left my son and my car at my friend's house to pick up in the morning, which I did. I then walked home. After I got home, I went straight to bed. I was woken up by the doorbell camera. My neighbor was there. I ignored her, but I watched her on the camera. She said she knew I was home and that if I didn't answer, she would call a wellness check for me because I came home without my son. I told her through the camera that he was at a slumber party and I wanted her off my porch. She asked why he was at a slumber party on a Monday night. I said it was none of her business and to get off my porch. She said she was going to call for a wellness check unless I showed her proof that he was okay. I walked out the back door and towards her house. She saw me when I was almost there and came running after me. I knocked on her door. She reached her front door right before her husband opened it and demanded I leave. The irony. Her husband answered the door and asked what was going on. I told him what his wife did and threatened to do. He yelled and cursed at her, asking her what was wrong with her and telling her to get in the house. She told him to lower his voice, saying the neighbors would hear. He said the neighbors already think she's a word I'm not going to repeat because they see her knocking on my door all the time. time. She told him to stop and he told her to get in the house. She went inside. He apologized to me and said she isn't going to knock on my door again. I felt uncomfortable because of the yelling and cursing, and I was also still tipsy, so I said okay and went home. So far, no knocks. We'll see what happens. Oh my god. This is just infuriating at this point. I'm like actually so mad. What business is it of yours? Like, it's none of your business. Like, leave this man alone. What is wrong with this person? As of March 8th, so like 5 days since then. Not enough for a real update, but the OP goes that I have not seen her since her husband yelled at her in front of me, as in literally. I haven't even caught a glimpse of her. I think she might be done. Oh my god, I hope to God that she is done, because this woman is in desperate need of help, or a hobby. A hobby might help. I think she clearly doesn't have any friends and anything to do whatsoever, and she needs to find something to fucking do. Hope to all the gods not to see another update again from this person, because, you know, she off and calmed down. And we're moving on to the next story, which is my old stalker is back and my husband is making me feel like I'm the crazy one. So this was originally posted to Two Hot Takes subreddit, which is the subreddit of another Reddit podcast that I love. It's much bigger, it's fun, and you know, Morgan is amazing, everybody is amazing, and I hope it's fine that I borrowed this one story for the episode. So I, 32 female, and my husband, 32 male, have been arguing a lot recently over my old stalker. For some background, back in college, I was 24. I dated a guy, let's call him Fred, for around 2 months. Fred was interesting to say the least. To save time, he had several red flags once we started dating, so I dumped him. Fred acted like he couldn't care less, so I thought that was that. Few months go by and I'm starting to see Fred everywhere. I see him at a grocery store I go to, my go-to nail place, my favorite restaurants, etc. I thought it was just a weird coincidence, so I left it at that. A year after our breakup, he starts messaging me, telling me he was the happiest with me and that he misses me so much. I called bullshit and blocked him. Then things escalated. Fred changed numbers every time I blocked him, made new social media accounts, and I started seeing his car everywhere. I tried getting a restraining order against Fred, but since he hadn't done anything to me, they couldn't do anything. A few months later, I was walking to my car at night. Fred coincidentally saw me walking alone and offered me a ride home. I said no, that I had my own car, and kept walking. Fred proceeded to get out of his car and tried pushing me into it. I punched him and ran to my car. I drove away and luckily he didn't follow. I tried again to get a restraining order, but it was basically his word against mine. They gave me a temporary restraining order, but that's it. I was terrified of even walking outside and deleted all my socials. Thankfully, a very close friend, let's call him Pete, stepped in to defend me. Pete ended up threatening Fred, and I finally stopped hearing from Fred. I felt free and slowly got back into my normal life. Now to present day, I'm married to my husband. I've graduated from college and live alone with my husband. We moved to a nearby city and bought a house together. Sadly, a month ago, Pete died during his sleep and I was absolutely devastated. I've known Pete since I was in high school and he was my closest friend. To be honest, I'm still not over his death and sometimes I can't believe he's gone. But guess who heard about his death? That's right, folks. Fred found out and is now back. I received texts from Fred a few days after Pete died. I now see him everywhere and he's insisting we talk. I just walk away and ignore him. I've reported him but nothing has happened, so I deleted my socials again. Friends have been telling me Fred has been asking around about me. He's asked if I move, what I'm doing lately, if I have another social media account, etc. I'm honestly terrified. I've moved since I finished college, but somehow I see him at my gym, grocery store, park, etc. It honestly makes me believe he never stopped watching me, and it's terrifying. I've told my husband about everything, and he says I'm overreacting or just plain ignores my concerns and changes the subject. I've argued that he doesn't care, and he argues back, asking what do I expect him to do. He says that Fred doesn't know where we live and that we'll just change gyms. My husband is telling me to just change my regular routine and stop going to certain places. He says it's no big deal and Fred is harmless. I'm like, Fred tried to force me into his car? How is that harmless? My husband has been distant ever since this started and I feel alone. I don't want to tell my friends in fear they will tell Fred. I can't go to my family because I'm no contact with them. And of course my husband couldn't care less. I need advice. What do I do? Am I crazy? Should I just change my gym and my routine like how my husband says? Part of me just wants to move completely, but another part is basically asking myself, why do I have to uproot my life and change everything because of him? Can't he just leave me alone? It's been like 10 years already and I want to move on from this. Should I just talk to Fred hoping he'll leave me alone? No, because it's dangerous. This person already tried to kidnap you, so I wouldn't talk to him and react in any way because I feel like every morsel of attention or every acknowledgement just fuels them and, gives them more security to escalate things. And I'm very sorry that you lost your friends. It must have been devastating. But also you have a husband problem. He's a huge asshole. What do you mean? Fred is harmless. Horrible partnering. And we have an update. Number 1. My friends don't talk to Fred and they are aware of the situation. Fred has reached out to them randomly asking about me. They have reported and blocked him as well. Now for the update. Last night, I decided to have a serious conversation with my husband one last time. I sat down with him and explained the whole situation again. Told him how scared I've been and that he needs to take this seriously. I wanted to show him how terrified I was, how small I've been made to feel, not just by Fred, but also him. How his lack of support / concern for my own safety is making me question our marriage. I asked if he'd even do anything if I was found in a ditch. He was silent the whole time while looking at the floor. We sat in silence for a few minutes before I got up to pack my things. My husband proceeded to cry. He apologized and said he'd make this right. He said he didn't want to overreact in fear of scaring me more, but when in reality, it made me feel alone. My husband has been looking into Fred without my knowledge and has found out where he works, lives, and even Fred's family contact information. He wants to gather more information about Fred before contacting a lawyer. We're both taking a few days off work to get our ducks in a row. We're getting a lawyer and gathering evidence of Fred's harassment. We're also currently looking for a therapist for we can both talk about this whole situation and other issues we have in our marriage. I also have some voicemails Fred has left me and I officially think he's lost it. I have an Apple iPhone and you're able to see voicemails from blocked numbers. Some of the messages are of him saying straight up gibberish while others are as if he's having a conversation with me. He says things like, "Oh yeah babe, I get off work late, so tonight is a no-go," or "I'm off so you can come pick it up right now." No, yeah, I don't know. I can't do this anymore. There's a lot of fashion in my life. It sounds like he's having a conversation, but it's no one else, just him. And it's terrifying. My husband does feel bad and is trying his best to console me. He has apologized repeatedly for making me feel lonely and has been more supportive / open. Currently, he's looking through my car to check if there is anything that might be giving my location to Fred. I'll keep you all updated if we find anything or if anything else happens. Thank you all for your advice and support. I've posted another update. I think you can find it on my posts. And update 2. Wasn't sure if I should make an update but decided to anyways to maybe get some more advice. After my husband didn't find anything in my car, I still felt something wrong, so I took people's advice and took my car to the mechanic. Told my mechanic about my situation and if he could take a look at my car. To my horror, a couple days later, my mechanic found a small little cube that was placed hidden under my car. At first, I really wanted to believe it was just part of my car or something, but my mechanic explained that it wasn't and and it was deliberately hidden. The cube is really small and magnetic. I called my lawyer right then and told them everything. I got pictures of the GPS and where it was placed. I thanked the mechanic and drove to my lawyer's office. At this point, I was shaking and wanted to cry. How long had the GPS been there? How long has Fred been following me without me knowing? Was he watching me at that moment? Is he going to add another one? I called my husband to meet me at the lawyer's office and told him everything. At the office, I just wanted to disappear. I wanted to run away and not look back. I was terrified and felt so violated, knowing I was being watched for who knows how long. With everything we had gathered, my lawyer was able to get a temporary restraining order that same day. We are currently going through the process of getting a restraining order where I will have to go to court and see Fred again. My lawyer says the process can be long and draining, but it's something I do need to get for my own safety. I got a bit scared and had my husband's car also checked for anything. Thankfully, nothing was found in his car. I started feeling watched at home, so I had my whole house turned upside down looking for anything maybe Fred had placed. Again, thankfully, nothing was found. I've told neighbors about what we found and to keep an eye out for anyone suspicious. I've also started my safety training for handling a gun and shooting, and still trying to get my CCW, but it can be a long process. Thank you again for everyone who has given me advice, and I'll keep you updated if Creepy Fred tries anything. Oh my god, why are these people so unhinged? Like, it's terrifying, and the effect that it has on your psyche, I imagine, is irreparable, because even when the stalker is gone, I think you still are gonna be living with this fear of what if it happens again, and feeling like you're being constantly watched. I don't think it goes away. And the top comment is, I don't understand why stalking isn't taken more seriously. It often leads to worse outcomes, and the psychological damage it does is insane. Feeling like you never have any safety. Yeah, that's true. I mean, I know from the practical standpoint, probably it's not taken as seriously, or like it doesn't yield that many results going to the police in the early stages of stalking, because it's very hard to prosecute, very hard to prove, very hard to, kind of establish things, because there is this whole thing with there has to be concrete evidence, there have to be substantial things that happened to, constitute stalking and something like that. And let's go see the next story. Stalked by a possibly obsessive transient man. Hey y'all, not sure if this belongs here, but wanted to share my story. This is still ongoing, so we'll see if it escalates. So it started a few weeks ago with a stranger incessantly knocking on my apartment's door. I live with my boyfriend, but he's not home until late. The knocking persisted over the span of an hour with 3 different attempts, each one getting more aggressive. The first instance of knocking was the standard 3 knock, then the second was the familiar friendly knock, with the last one being a very aggressive 5 knock pound. The last series of knocks really rattled me, and I contemplated if I should escalate things, grabbing my gun, or waiting it out. Fast forward a week later, we now have a Ring camera since my boyfriend ordered one the night that the first knocking incident happened, because it really freaked me out. Someone's at the door again, and I see that he stares into the camera. He puts his finger up to his mouth like he's questioning if he should do it, and then does, immediately bending over in a really weird position with his head down to hide his face. He stands there for a minute or two, but eventually leaves, until I encounter him in person a few days later in the apartment complex's laundry room at night. I went down by myself to switch the washer to the dryer, and there he was, in the corner of the room. It startled me, but I'm glad I didn't say anything. He did. Refusing to make eye contact, he says, "There she is," which makes my brain go high alert. Oh, hell no. I don't recognize him and have no idea who he is. The bigger question is, how the does he know me? Thankfully, my boyfriend was home. He had just helped me take out the trash because he wasn't comfortable with me being by myself. He's ex-military and carries a gun on him for work. He rushes down and helps me get the dryer emptied and the wets into the dry. We go back upstairs. He seems genuinely rattled and pleads why I didn't ask him to go with me down there because he thought I was coming back inside. I tell him what happened and what the weird f***ing guy said to me, and that it's the same guy that was at the door a few days prior. Walking with urgency into the bedroom, he grabs one of his guns, sits down on the couch, and looks visibly stressed as we wait for the dryer to be done. Seeing how much it freaked him out made me realize, oh, am I in danger? Not that they have the survival instincts of a paper towel, but it did really rattle him. He went down himself once the laundry was done. Now fast forward to yesterday morning at 10 a.m. I'm just about to put on my shoes and head out, and lo and behold, it's the same f***ing guy yet again. This time he's leaning on the doorway and has his foot propped on the wall. As I'm watching the ring camera footage, I contemplate just opening the door and using my bear spray on him. I don't know why, but his body language really pissed me off. He stayed for a minute until leaving. I wait 2 hours for the coast to be clear until I head out for the day, only to see him walking past me from the parking lot into the building. Really f***ing weird timing. As I'm driving away, I see him walking down the street. This guy is now giving me the proper heebie-jeebies, and I'm not sure where to go from here. Saved the 2 ring camera vids to show management in case things escalate, because I'm not sure if it's serious enough right now. That comment, "there she is," when I was in the laundry room alone at night really did freak me out though. I don't really know nor care to know his intentions because his body language is unsettling. I mean, it is serious enough that man is stalking you in your own building, and I'm fully on the side of your boyfriend. Now that is the correct reaction to what's happening. The top comment here is very obviously, you need to make a police report. They can add the apartment as a patrol route stop and check up on the area once or twice a night. Even if they can't arrest him for anything now, you'll have a good, solid, legal trail of the crap he's putting you through. Once you've done that, let your apartment manager know, case number and all, because that should help them be reasonable about it. They should trespass him. Yes, that is true. Having a record of these things definitely helps, I heard. And we're moving on to the next story, which is, my friend mirrors everything I do, and now she's copying my medical condition. Oof. Had one of those. It did not end well. I feel like I'm losing my mind, and I just need someone to tell me I'm not crazy. My friend, let's call her Stacy, has always had this strange habit of mimicking me, but recently it's gone from slightly annoying to deeply unsettling. It's like she's trying to become me, and I don't know how to deal with it anymore. I, 25 female, and Stacy is 24 female. Stacy is a fun person to be around. We've been friends for over 5 years now. She comes over and I let her borrow my clothes or give her clothes that I don't want anymore. I don't really like her style, but she lets me borrow her clothes when I want. So I knew she had a tendency to lie. But the lies were harmless, or at least I thought so. We've been friends for almost 5 years now. Sometimes it felt like she was just joking or trying to make herself seem more interesting. I ignored it, which in hindsight was a mistake. Over time though, the lies became more frequent, and I started to notice how often they revolved around me. We were fine and our friendship was good, but I started to feel weird about her when my sister messaged me saying Stacy had been talking behind my back. She was telling people that I kicked her out of my condo and that I had men constantly coming in and out of my place, making her feel unsafe while she was there. Big lie, by the way. Here's what actually happened. Stacy had come to my city while I was back in my hometown. She was staying with another friend, but that arrangement fell through. Without asking, she started bringing all her stuff to my place. She didn't book a return flight home and didn't ask if she could stay long term. My roommate doesn't like Stacy because she's messy. She leaves clothes everywhere and doesn't clean up after herself. The last time she stayed, she overstayed her welcome by a week and I didn't know when she planned to leave. This time, my roommate was coming back the next day and I knew she wouldn't want Stacy staying with us. I politely asked Stacy if she could stay somewhere else, explaining the situation. She said it was fine and that she'd stay with another friend. But apparently, she turned around and told that friend all the lies my sister relayed to me. So, on to the mirroring. The copying was done over long periods of time. We've been friends for 5 years now, but I only started noticing it about a year ago. So, here are some of the instances I felt she was copying me. I told her I was going to manage my parents' business. A week later, she told everyone she was going to manage her parents' business too. Never happened. I said I was moving to the city to finish college. Suddenly, she was telling people she was moving to the same city for college. Never happened. I started looking for styling jobs and internships. A week later, she told me she got a styling job, but it never happened. There were other instances that were small, like I got a new phone and she immediately blurts out she's gonna get a new phone but for free from some guy. Or like that I got a tattoo from this popular tattoo artist and she will immediately say that tattoo artist messaged her for a tattoo session, but she was in the hospital so she couldn't go. Things like that. At first, I brushed it off thinking maybe she just wanted to feel included, but the pattern of claiming to do what I'm doing without actually following through kept happening. I've always been someone who works hard and takes pride in being productive. I get that a little mirroring is normal in friendships, but Stacy's behavior felt different. She's someone who doesn't have much direction in life. She hasn't finished high school, has no real plans or passions, and doesn't put effort into learning skills that could lead to a career. I tried to be patient, but things escalated in a way I didn't expect. She copied my medical condition. This was the tipping point, and a situation I have never been in and felt so creeped out about. About a year ago, I had a partial salpingectomy due to an infection in my fallopian tube. It was one of the most painful experiences of my life. My tube ruptured and the infection spread throughout my body. Sepsis, I believe it's called. Luckily, I was already in the hospital, so they removed the tube and started me on antibiotics. Even so, my doctor told me I might struggle to have children in the future. It was traumatic and the recovery process was long and emotional. A few weeks ago, Stacy went to the hospital. I messaged her to ask what happened, but she just sent a selfie of herself in a hospital bed. I was busy with finals at school, so I didn't follow up right away. 2 days later, she messaged me again, saying she was exhausted from being in the hospital for 4 days. I asked what was wrong, and she said she had the same condition I did. I was shocked. She claimed she had a ruptured cyst in her fallopian tube that became infected, almost went into heart failure, and needed a blood transfusion. She said she was supposed to have surgery, but they didn't proceed because of her weak condition. I immediately knew she was lying. If your fallopian tube is infected and ruptured, surgery isn't optional, it's mandatory. I'm not a doctor, but after my experience, I did a lot of research, and what she described just didn't make any sense. Now, here's the thing. I told people I had a ruptured cyst because I didn't know how else to explain my condition and not get into gross details. You say cyst and people don't really ask anymore. Truth is, it was a really bad infection that only escalated because of my IUD. The infection grew in my fallopian tube and got so big they thought it was a cyst at first, hence why I decided to just call it a cyst. And I did mention to her that it's a good thing I was in a hospital because if all that happened and I got sepsis, it could cause heart failure. I feel like she only mirrored what I said except tried to make her condition seem worse. Nothing she said made any sense. She was in the hospital, but the reason why she was there sounds like it's all made up. Even on a group call while she was still in the hospital, she was listing medications to herself, almost as if she was trying to convince us it was real. She also later told a story about how she jumped on the hospital bed when her brother came to visit. Who does that after a life-threatening emergency? At this point, I felt insane, because who lies about something like this? Am I crazy? Is she copying me? Is she really a bad friend? Am I imagining all of it? Reading into it too much? Is it bad if I don't want to be friends with her anymore? She's my friend and I want to help her, but it's hard to approach her if all she does is lie. I want to distance myself from her, but we have mutual friends, and I know she'll spread more lies about me if I pull away. Has anyone else dealt with a friend like this? How do you create distance without creating unnecessary drama? Edit, I want to add that a few hours ago, she just posted in her story a screenshot of a course list of subjects that is the same as the course I'm taking right now. She's never shown interest in my course, so this is really weird. I wonder if she's just messing with me at this point. I don't know, babes, but you do have to get rid of this friend of yours because they just tend to get worse in my experience. And they just take and take and take, and then you're gonna be the shitty one in the end, by the way. Like, inevitably, you are gonna be. So, drama is very likely either way. With cray cray people like this, as hard as you try not to make drama, they will probably make the drama. Because if she's like this obsessed with you, she's gonna definitely be like, oh my god, no, you slighted me. How dare you stop talking to me and stuff like that. So, whether you tell her or not why it's happening, or she's likely either not get it or take offense or, you know, like just be difficult. So, that is a problem. And people are giving advice here, and then we have an update 2 months later. I don't know where to start, so I'll try to organize my thoughts as much as I can, but honestly, it's a lot worse than I thought it was. I have not run into her at all when I went back to my hometown, thank God. When I knew she was back in town, I avoided going out at all, barely replied to her texts, and obviously told my friends, who were very supportive by the way, that I did not want to be where she was. Luckily, we all took a trip out of town that she was recently uninvited to due to her having a lot of issues with the people going. Thankful for that, cause I really did not want to see her. When me and my friend, we'll call him Ryan, took a trip to a different town nearby, we reached out to one of our friends that lived there. We'll call her Danny. Now, Danny was really close with Stacy, as in they would hang out almost every day. Everyone knew them to be BFFs, and well, now they are no longer friends. Stacy told me about the falling out situation, and so I wanted to hear Danny's side, and let me tell you, it was a whole different story. Stacy made Danny look crazy, insecure, over-emotional, and inconsiderate. I was shocked at how different the two stories were. Danny started opening up on how Stacy borrowed money from her for her rent, kept treating her horribly, and pushing her around. I told Danny how I didn't know she was that much of a bitch. I have never seen that side of her at all. Danny replied with, that's because she's obsessed with you, you don't even know. And that sent chills all over my body. She went on to say how every single time she would be with Stacy, she would talk about me. From my hobbies to the issues I have in my life, including dating and very personal things. Stacy would want to dress like me and do whatever it was I was doing. She would buy the same accessories as me, shoes as me, tell everybody about me, talk about how me and her are really close. Anytime I would dye my hair, she would want the same colors. It made me feel so uncomfortable hearing all of this, knowing I thought this girl was my friend. But at the same time, she would apparently belittle me. Anytime someone would give me a compliment and I wasn't there, she would tell people I smell bad and have bad hygiene and that I slept with a lot of guys. She would tell people that I get all of my connections from her, when at the same time she was telling Danny that she was only friends with me because she can get connections from me. The contradictions? And Danny added that Stacy does not shower. She doesn't even own her own soap, shampoo, or conditioner. I realized then where the comments of me having bad hygiene came from. All of the insults she gives other people really are just reflections on how she is. She sleeps around. She has bad hygiene. She gets her connections from me. She is insecure. These are the insults she would tell people about other people, and honestly now I see the pattern that it's all just her really mirroring insecurities about herself and projecting them to other people. I couldn't say I was shocked, but I definitely was hurt and had chills. And when I asked Danny how long this had been going on for, she replied with, since the first time she met Stacy, which was 4 years ago. Yes, I'm also shocked, baby. I can't believe I was friends with Stacy for so long, and I never noticed how sick this person was. She would end up not paying her rent because she would spend all her money buying the same things I had or coming to my city to visit me. Also, I kind of figured out her medical condition she claimed was the same as mine, was an STI/STD, because her frequent guy that she was seeing also went to the hospital, and she kind of let it slip to one of our friends that it was because of her infection. I'm not shaming her at all. I never cared how she wanted to live her life, but I always tried to remind her to wrap it up, especially if she wanted to see guys like that. Well, hope someone tries to remind her about that now, because she will not be hearing it from me or hearing from me anymore at all. I feel drained by all of the information I have been getting about her. I guess now that I have seen for myself what she really is, I can hear what other people are saying more clearly. Me and all of my close friends agree that we have all learned from meeting Stacy. I have been too nice and too generous with people that I allowed myself to be used by someone who I thought was my friend. I mean, she's a flat out narcissist, and I kind of knew it from the moment I met her, but I let it slide. So now I'm more skeptical with people I meet. I honestly hope I never have to see her again. I am genuinely surprised that she didn't follow up with crazy stalking after this, and I include this into stalking category because, like, yeah, trying to make yourself into another person is, in my opinion, creepy and mimicking. And stalking, like, you are invading someone's privacy, you're just robbing them of their identity, you're robbing them of the feeling of safety slowly but surely. And I had multiple people throughout my life who were copying everything that I do, and it was fine with like one girl, and with another one it was fine, kind of controlled and like, you know, more of a light-hearted, well-natured situation, so it was not like creepy. But with another one it just got weird, and at first I thought I was being insane because, like, back at the time, which was like over 10 years ago, I was telling my boyfriend something feels off, and he was like, yeah, feels off because she's, you know, stealing everything from you. Then it went on for like, again, over 10 years, and then I didn't feel like I was crazy anymore because all the people who saw us together and all the people who knew anything about this, they would notice it first. And at some points I would like be shocked how many people came forward with it by themselves. They were like, hey, this is hilarious, like, she's, you know, absolutely unhinged. And I was like, well, this is both hilarious and sometimes not, because it did do a lot of harm over the years. And yes, just like Stacy, she would, you know, go around telling to people about me behind my back because, you know, I'm manipulative. Anyway, the point. Yeah, it's deep insecurity. The people who do this, they don't have their own personality, or they hate themselves so much that they're trying to fake another personality because they think that nobody's gonna love them for them. And like, good riddance of Stacy, because it just get nuttier with time, I feel like, and the lying escalates and the gaslighting escalates. Okay, I've been filming for like nearly 3 hours now, and I'm only halfway through all of the stories that I prepared for you because, well, frankly, it's a bunch of very long stories. So I'm thinking I'm just gonna wrap it up here, and if you want a part 2, I'll see what I can do and maybe film part 2. Thank you so much for watching. If you're still here, be safe, be vigilant. I will see you with another episode at some point in the future. Bye.